الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا رسول الله. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك سيدتي ومولاتي يا زهراء. عظم الله أجوركم سيدي ومولاي صاحب العصر والزمان. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، فنفوز فوزا عظيما، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام على ابن خاتم الأنبياء، السلام على ابن سيد الأوصياء، السلام على ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام على ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام على ابن سدرة المنتهى، السلام على ابن جنة المأوى. Dear brothers and sisters, in nights like these we go to the battlefield of Karbala and we listen to the words of Imam Hussein on the 10th day of Muharram. Listen to the words of Imam Hussein as he stands on the battlefield of Karbala talking to the enemies of Allah. Sayyidi wa mawlaya ya Hussein, يا قتيل العدا ومسلوب العمامة والرداء، أيها المذبوح من القفا يا أبا عبد الله. Imam Hussein alayhi salam stood on the 10th day of Muharram in the land of Karbala. He stood addressing the enemies of Allah. Alastu ibn binti nabiyyikum, am I not the son of the daughter of your Prophet Muhammad? Am I not the son of the cousin of your Prophet Muhammad? You doubt? Salu Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Ask him. Ask Suhail ibn Sa'ad al-Sa'idi. Ask Zayd ibn al-Arqam. Ask Anas ibn Malik. Ask them all, they will tell you. Do you doubt I am the grandson of Prophet Muhammad? Do you doubt who I am? Do you doubt I am the son of Lady Zahra? يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. غريب كربلاء، مظلوم كربلاء، الشهيد كربلاء. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. والصلاة والسلام على النبي الهاشمي القرشي المدني الأبطحي التهامي السيد البهي السراج المضيء الكوكب الدري صاحب الوقار والسكينة المدفون بالمدينة العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Muhammad verse 14 in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فمن كان على بينة من ربه كما زين له سوء عمله كما زين له سوء عمله واتبعوا أهواءهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. Dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And again, another evening that we gather as we get closer to the 10th day of Muharram, the Ashir, as we commemorate the events of Karbala and what happened to Imam Hussein Salamullahi Ta'ala alayh and his family members, and the battle of Karbala and what took place against the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we need to emphasize this additive, the enemies of Allah, for we need to define those who stood against Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the land of Karbala on the 10th day of Muharram as enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal. They stood against the message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih. They stood and fought the message of Tawheed by standing against the Imam of their time. Dear brothers and sisters, in today's world, we try to understand things through the lens of Tawheed. We try to see things through the lens of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And this lens is defined further. This lens is adjusted further for each and every one of us through the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalu salati wassalam. It is like a camera when you try to capture a moment. The moment becomes more refined when you try to adjust the lenses in the camera in order for you to capture that perfect moment, depicting that moment in your life. Dear brothers and sisters, that moment is captured by you learning the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, as if you're trying to adjust these lenses to capture that perfect moment. The adjustment only takes place with the knowledge that you have, that you acquire in your life. The more knowledge you have, the more abilities you have in order for you to adjust your life, to adjust your position, so you're in a better place to know how to take an action in your daily lives based on the options presented to you. With the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, you're given such knowledge, you're given such insight, not only the purpose of your action, but it's even further, they give you the consequence of your action further, not only in this world, but they teach you of the consequences of your action in the hereafter, providing you such a wealth of knowledge that you can protect yourself not only in this world, but in the hereafter, giving you the ability for long-term planning, which is key to a truly successful life. Most of us define our lives with the end of this life in this world, but the smart ones, the intelligent ones, the ones who read the Holy Quran, the ones who learn from Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, their lives extend all the way to the hereafter. And therefore, their IRAs, their 401ks, their investment plans extend all the way to the day of judgment, dear brothers and sisters. And the way to do that cannot, will not, shall not happen without learning and putting the time. If you look through history, you'll find that Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam and their companions, they had certain characteristics. They had certain distinguishing characteristics. You'll find them those who worshipped Allah Azza wa Jal. You'll find them those who spend the time in worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal, but they did not stop there. Yes, they put the time in worship, but also they put the time in their work. You'll find them the merchants of the time, the entrepreneurs, the scholars, the professionals. If you truly study each and every companion of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, you'll find them the most successful of their times in their respective communities, in their respective professions. And that's why those individuals that carried the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam were guarded and were looked at as the most successful. Therefore, when they spoke, they were very highly respected. They are not individuals that had nothing else to do, and therefore they became companions of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They were the hardest at work. They were the most intelligent. They were the brightest. They were the ones who put the most time and effort in building themselves. being a companion, being a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam meant to truly take yourself, take that innate, take that fitrah that Allah Azza wa Jal describes in Surah Ar-Rum in verse 30. He says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. So direct yourself towards your religion, inclining to the truth. Why? فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ. That is the way Allah Azza wa Jal has created you, within that fitrah, within that innate. التي فطر الناس عليها. He created mankind with that inclination to go towards the truth. And you'll see, most will be looking, searching to find the truth. How many are successful finding the truth? لا تبديل لخلق الله. There is no change to that creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Dear brothers and sisters, it is important to realize that we are inheritors of the truth. We inherited such an important principle. We inherited such wealth of knowledge. We inherited the truth. We inherited the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. We inherited the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And our 12th holy Imam, in his occultation today, is protecting that truth. And you will see that Imam alayhi salam, since the moment of his occultation up to today, until today, he had established the institutions through which the protection of the knowledge is taking place. You'll see our Islamic seminaries, Al-Hawzat Al-Ilmiya, through our respected scholars, starting from Shaykh Al-Kulayni, Shaykh Al-Tusi, Shaykh Al-Mufid, Shaykh Al-Saduq, and going through the list through time until today. Our grand scholars, dear brothers and sisters, if you don't know them, spend the time to get to know them, who they are and what they did. Al-Allama Al-Hilli, Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Hilli, Al-Shaheed Al-Awwal, Al-Shaheed Al-Thani. These great scholars that protected the wealth of knowledge. Look at what they did. Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Bahbahani, Al-Sayyid Al-Tabatabai. All these individuals with their knowledge, they were able to preserve the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Our Islamic seminary, they produce and graduate bright minds to protect the knowledge that we have today. The knowledge you and I are responsible to carry. If we are not able to protect it by going into the field and trying to learn in the Islamic seminary, then we ought to be the true carriers of the knowledge in our hometowns here. We need to learn it and we need to educate it. It was brought to my attention yesterday that, Sayyid, you might be too forward. You might be a bit harsh on the community. You might be delivering the message a little bit too forward to the community. Dear brothers and sisters, we have been too soft for a long time. And time is running out. Your clock is ticking, and mine. Today we have the opportunity. We still breathe. We have an opportunity to change things. So what are we going to wait for? Until when? The truth has to be said, reality has to be faced, change has to be made, and we need to take that responsibility. No one else is going to do it for us. Imagine your name as a community goes down in history that you changed direction, that you erected these institutions, that you built the minds that carried on the future of tashayyu' and followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Imagine in the history of Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, for his mention, let us rise, recite salawat and move forward in the loudest of our voices. Imagine that in the history of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman alayhi salam, just imagine like Shaykh al-Mufid, what he did, and Shaykh al-Tusi, who established the Islamic seminary and al-Hawza al-Ilmiya in the holy city of Najaf, and Shaykh al-Saduq and Ibn Babawayh, who established long time ago al-Hawza al-Ilmiya in the holy city of Qom. Imagine your name as a community like Al-Allama Al-Hilli and Al-Muhaqqiq Al-Hilli, who established the Islamic seminary in the city of Hilla. Imagine your names as a community was written in history, what you established to help Shia Islam, to help followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, to carry the message of Allah, to help Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, and how he would bless you, each and every one of you, because you connected with him, because you remembered him, because you were of those who carried his banner. Just imagine. Have you imagined yourself one day to be someone whose name is written in history? Let me tell you then. Just have the intent, act on the intent, and your name is written on the records of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman alayhi salam. And that is good enough for us. We don't need the world to know if our Imam knows. It doesn't matter to us for the historians to write our names if our Imams know our name. Imagine on the day of judgment, you come forward and your Imam identifies you. You're the follower who stood up for me. You're the follower who remembered my name. You're the follower who tried to change something to protect my Shia everywhere in the world. Come forth. You're the one who did not forget. You're the one who remembered. You're the one who tried. Dear brothers and sisters, this is our responsibility and we're capable of doing it. It all starts with knowledge. Allah says in the verse I recited earlier, so is he who is on clear evidence ala bayyinatin min rabbih. He knows, he follows the way of his Lord ala bayyina, based on a clear proof. He has taken the time. كَمَنْ زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ, like the one whom the evil of his work has been made attractive to him, and they follow their own desires. Dear brothers and sisters, in this verse, Allah shows there are two types of people. Those who act with clarity of mind and thought, and those who are deceived by their own work. They feel and they think that what they're doing is right, yet it is in the worst of wrongs, because they did not base it on knowledge. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jal creates us all with different talents and skills. But each and every one of us has to put the time and effort to explore what Allah Azza wa Jal has given us of skills and talents, the potential in us. And you will not be able to do it unless you put the time and effort to find out. And each one of us knows the journey, especially those who spend the time, the adults and the elderlies. And that's why we ought to turn back and help those young ones discover themselves, find out what they're made out of. We went through experiences, hardships. It is important that we don't put our children, our young men and women through the same hardships. Let us help them. Let us help them through these times. Let us make sure they have a shortcut. Let us make sure they can have the helping hand to achieve higher, faster. What you achieved in the age of 30, they should achieve it at the age of 20. Where you are at the age of 40, they should get to it at the age of 25, 30. Then you succeeded. If you see your son, if you see your child achieved what you achieved at the age of 20 and he did the same thing at the age of 20, don't think you succeeded, you failed. Because you did not provide him anything better than what your parents provided you. He just had to go through what you've done. Then where is your effort with your child? You need to be able to close the age gap. In what? In being successful. When you achieve things at the age of 30, you need to make sure your child is able to achieve it in the age of 20. And then and there, not this generation, then the generation after and after, they will be the achievers of the time. They'll be the ones who they say, MashaAllah, at a very young age, we were able to establish, accomplish, and be successful. Why? Because our parents, our adults, our elderly paved the way for us. We got to colleges and universities, we had our bachelors and masters. It's not enough anymore for our young generation. We have to get the masters and PhDs. It's not enough anymore. We have to get the best of positions. That's why we need to help one another. We have to help one another. Dear brothers and sisters, understand one thing, that it is through us reaching out to one another, us helping out one another with the greatest of our manners, with the way we deal with one another. I need to build trust between you and I. I need to build this bond so you can accept from me, so you can listen to my advice. If you're not going to listen to my advice, whose else advice are you going to take? Maybe someone else, a stranger that will not give you from the bottom of my heart, will not give you what I can give you. Why? I'm not telling you don't listen to him, but knowing that we both share the love of Ahlul Bayt, I become more protective of you. I want the best for your future. Why? Because in my old age, I will secure myself through your own success. Dear brothers and sisters, building communities, formation of communities only happens when we work together. Because when we work together, when we deal with one another in the best of manners, let me tell you tonight about the best of manners and the magic of husnul khalq, and how you can husnul khulq, and how you can be of good manners, how well it will help you. Very simple things. I have not been giving you hard tasks, simple tasks. Once you take them, Ahlul Bayt tell us, you take them, they will change your life. The best of lineage is not what family you come from. Oh, mashallah, look at him. He is from this family or that family, from this village or that village. Al-Imam Salamullahi Ta'ala alayhi in Nahj al-Balagha, the Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, the best of lineages is what? Husnul khulq. Good manners. He says, in another place, Fi Bihar al-Anwar, he says, a man of not high lineage, unknown, might become the best amongst his people through his good manners. And the highest in lineage and amongst his people becomes the lower, and the lowest, why? His bad manners. One thing, please listen to this. In Safinat al-Bihar, that was authored by Sheikh Abbas al-Qummi, the author of Mafatih al-Jinan, he relates that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, حُسْنُ الْخُلْقِ يُزِيدُ فِي الرِّزْقِ. Good manners will increase your sustenance. Imagine. Really? Good manners would look at the relationship. Where do you learn this? In the books of physics or the books of biology or chemistry? Seriously. I bet you in business administration classes, they don't tell you good manners will increase your income, do they? I would love to see that school. It is the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It shows you the unseen. It builds in you this knowledge of the world of the unseen. Al-Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, as narrated by Al-Allama al-Majlisi in Bihar al-Anwar, listen to what he says. Listen, because these are the jewels of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They explain to us the world of the unseen. في سعة الأخلاق, when you have these best of manners, كنوز الأرزاق, the treasures of sustenance. You want wealth? You want wealth? I'll give you one statement you can, that it opens up your life for you. Let us recite the Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Stand up and move forward again. بحق محمد وآل محمد. Every step you take right now to make room for others, believe me, dear brothers and sisters, is accounted for you. So for Allah salawat, again, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And for the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, for the third time in the loudest of your voices, recite salawat. See, Imam Ali alayhi salam does mention in Mustadrak al-Wasa'il that it's not an easy thing to be well-mannered. Because he says, النفس مجبولة على سوء الأدب. This nafs of ours wants to be released, wants to go free. وَالْعَبْدُ مَأْمُورٌ, but the servant, you and I, are instructed بِمُلَازَمَةِ حُسْنِ الْأَدَبِ, that we have to make sure that we accompany ourselves with good manners at all time. And then he even details further. He says we have the tendency to always go against what is right, but yourself, you need to pull it back to what is correct. Because the moment you let it go in committing wrong, then the moment you just became a partner in killing your own self. Su'ul khulq, bad manners, is equated to killing oneself. Because the moment Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam mentions in Mustadrak al-Wasa'il, he says, اقصر نفسك عما يضرها. Your soul, yourself, gets harmed by things. So make sure you don't go perform these things before yourself departs you. وَاسْعَ فِي فَكَاكِهَا. Listen to this. And make sure you try to release yourself from what? كَمَا تَسْعَى فِي طَلَبِ مَعِيشَتِكَ. Try so hard to release yourself, exactly as hard as you try to get your income and sustenance. How? Why? He says, فَإِنَّ نَفْسَكَ رَهِينٌ بِعَمَلِكَ. Yourself is hostage to what you do. You do evil, yourself is hostage to that evil. You do good, yourself is what? Hostage to that good. What kind of hostage do you want to be? Your kidnappers, evil or good? Obviously, you want to be evil kidnappers? I don't know about that. You want to make sure that you are hostage to goodness. And the Imam Salamullahi Ta'ala alayh said it clearly. Inna afdal al-jihad, the best of struggle. See, now we hear the word jihad everywhere. And subhanallah, look in today's world, look how they're trying to attack Islam. They're talking about how the jihadist, such a misused word, the jihadist and what they're doing. You know, let me relate a thought with you, but let me hear a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So because jihadists, quote unquote, the evildoers, they claim they studied Islam and they studied their curriculum, the Quran and the words of the Holy Prophet, knowing that these individuals misinterpreted these words and took it out of context and misused it. But because these individuals, these jihadists, these fundamentalists, these extremists who kill people, commit atrocities, but because these wrongdoers use the words of the Quran and the Prophet, what happened? All the billions of people and the followers of Islam and the religion of Islam is what? Is evil. Right? Well, let me ask you this. For those individuals who are blasting these words on the news, on the talk shows, let me ask you though, if we use your line of thinking and we look at all the criminal acts done in the schools today, the shootings that take place in our American schools today, by those individuals that were taught by the curriculum of our country in the schools, killing innocent young men and women, does it mean we have the right to claim that our curriculum is evil and our schools are evil? Just because a few individuals have an issue in their lives and they will hang on to anything to make a purpose for themselves and kill others and portray their hate towards others, do we crucify everyone else and do we call the entire state of thinking, the entire curriculum set and everything they were taught and who taught them and what they're being taught, their families, their neighbors, their knowledge and everything given to them and the country they live in as evil? I refuse to say that, because I love my country, I love my neighbors, I love the families I live with, and just because of few mental cases go out of hand and do harm to others, I will not say that the entire country, the entire region, the entire curriculum and everything is taught as evil. What is happening? What is happening today? What is happening? Why is it that we are provoked in a way? If you ever watch yesterday or the night before, I was flipping through the channels before I started my reading, and there was a show where the individual, a talk show where they were talking about Islam. I forgot the name of the lady, and one of the host, he was talking about him presenting facts against Islam, and she was telling him, why is it that every time you say something about Islam it becomes a fact? Who says it's a fact? On what basis? And she really got him in her dialogue where he was stunned, he couldn't say a word. And then what happened? Right away, he's like, well, I'm sure not every Muslim is like you. We do not have enough people and individuals that talk the language and address the issues. Let me make sure it's clear here. We need to go out of our comfort zone and try addressing issues. I want us to change things. I want us to try new things. Think of ideas. Go out of your comfort zone and out of your way and be creative. How you address points addressing Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, see, Al-Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, he says, Inna afdal al-jihad, the best of jihad. Now imagine someone is capturing this and broadcast it on the American news. At the Idara Ja'fariyah, they are talking about, they're calling for jihad. Out of context. The best of jihad. And we all have to perform this form of jihad. What happens? I did not finish my sentence. This can be taken out of context. Right or wrong? Let me complete it. Mujahadatul rajuli nafsah. To struggle against your own self. Which means what? The best of struggle, the most important of struggle is when you put the time and effort to understand who you are and what you are. That jihad, that struggle needs to be echoed to the world. But how do we do that? See, Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam tells us something beautiful. You want to build a great character of yourself, you want to be a person with such a character, he tells you, do few things. Two things. You want to hear it? Are you taking notes by, I have an issue, but I'll let it go, because then they're going to tell, you guys are going to tell me I'm too harsh on you. I don't see anyone writing anything. No writing, no taking notes. Maybe you guys, I know why. You guys have great memories because you recite the Quran every single day, right? Salawat ala Muhammad. Sahih. There you go. Yeah, okay. خالف نفسك تستقم. Go against your desires, you'll be straightened. That's first. What is the second thing? خالط العلماء تعلم. And mix with the scholars, you will learn. Mix with the scholars. And by the way, the scholars, we need to define the scholars. The scholars are individuals that have put the time and effort to become experts in their fields. It could be a scholar in economy, a scholar in sociology, a scholar in psychology, and a scholar in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. A scholar in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, it means he has graduated from under the mentorship of scholars. Because this is dangerous. I want you to keep your mind open. Not everyone that is self-taught becomes a scholar. You need to make sure that his scholarly work is recommended by a scholar. Dear brothers and sisters, I have family members who have been studying in the holy city of Najaf for over 40, 50 years. They're students of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sa'id al-Hakim, Sayyid al-Sistani, and Sheikh Ishaq Fayyad, these grand scholars. Believe me, not a year, not 2, not 10, not 20, over 40, 50 years. And when someone says and calls them Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, or with the title scholar, they shiver and they do not call us like this. Don't say these words. What, you call me Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin? What am I going to call you? He's like, do you know what it takes to be like that? They refuse it, reject it. That's why they know the value of that word. If you ever hear anyone says, why don't you put my title in front of my name? Know that he's someone that has issues. Not of the scholarly type. Scholars will never say, why don't you have my title? They don't care, you know why? Their words will define them for you. Titles don't define anyone. Call whatever you want to call. Of course, with respect. Don't start foul languages. But don't start putting so many titles in front of someone. Let their knowledge speak better through their actions. How many people will talk the talk but not walk the walk? Dear brothers and sisters, see, Al-Imam tells you, mix yourself with the scholars. And when I say mix yourself with the scholars, what do I mean by that? It's not only come on Friday night or Saturday night, listen and leave. No, not Saturday in the morning. Was it today's Saturday? I'm losing track today. But not 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and that's it. No, make them your friends. Make them your confidants. Make them people you go back to pick their minds and the brains on issues, on knowledge issues, on different issues of life, on their wisdom. Dear brothers and sisters, it's important to relate to the scholar, to make him part of your world. If there's a scholarly woman, lady, make her part of the world of the woman. Make sure you relate to one another. A scholar, as the Prophet ﷺ says, is not someone who isolates himself in his house and not goes and gives his knowledge to the people and with the people. It's easy to study and just stay home. But it's hard to deal with the people. You think you're easy to deal with? Don't fool yourselves. You may get mad different than you may get mad. If I do something that makes you happy, the same thing may make him mad. And as a person who is responsible with a community, what does a person have to do? He needs to make sure you're all pleased. You think that's an easy job? And even further, he does it qurba ilallah azza wa jal. He does not expect a payment in return. This is a two-way road. In the house, dear brothers and sisters, do you know we are taught a book in akhlaq, in the way we should seek knowledge, the manners of seeking knowledge, how you talk to your teacher and how you talk to your students and how you talk to your peers. How to look and raise your eyes when you look at your teacher. How to ask, do you interrupt him while he's talking? Do you ask him while he's talking? How you should sit, how you should stand. In the Hawza of Najaf, one of the scholars, dear brothers and sisters, he's a very achieved young man. At the age of 25 years, he has achieved a lot of high stages in his studies. And then, as he went, he was trying to record what his scholar is teaching him. This is one of the ways to enhance your knowledge, by taking what the teacher is saying and rewriting it in a way that it could be written words and then published as a book. And he was doing it day in, day out, page in, page out, book in, book out. And he asked his scholar to look at it. The scholar looks at it and he says, it's okay, inshallah khair, and he leaves it. Now, the young man, the young student doesn't give up. He tries harder, he tries harder, he tries harder. The teacher looks at it again. He goes, you know, there is some improvement, but try better. Until after a few years, the student goes to his teacher and he presents his work. The teacher looks at him and says, Alhamdulillah, now I can say you're a student who learned the content and the topic. He said, Alhamdulillah, and he smiled, the student. Then he walked away. The teacher, as he was walking away, turns back to the student and tells him, son, come here. You know you were doing a great job from the first moment you presented me the book. He looks at him, he goes, but if I told you you're doing good, you will not try harder, because you will never discover the potential in you. But I wanted you to discover who you really are. Then he pauses, he puts his hand on his shoulder. He says, son, the same way I did this favor to you, you do it to someone else. You do it to all your students. Learning in the holy city of Najaf is a great experience, is an amazing experience. To live with the scholars, to live amongst them, to see how they live, to see what they do. It's an amazing lifestyle. But dear brothers and sisters, they teach you how to struggle against yourself. I swear to God, I've seen this in my own eyes. I walked one day in the scorching heat of Najaf in the month of June or July. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. At 12 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock, when you just step outside, you get dizzy. That's how hot it is outside. I was supposed to meet with a scholar, and he told me where he lives. So I found my way to his house. This is a very well-known scholar, a scholar of greatness, a scholar of great knowledge, amazing. So I imagined, how would you go and see a scholar? Where would you go? So I found his house after a lot of search. And I stood in front of a very small house. I knocked on the door. He opened the door for me. He was wearing his dashdasha in white with his scarf on his shoulder. Dear brothers and sisters, I had to bend to go inside and then go up the stairs. The stairs, it was all made out of mud. No cement, nothing fancy. As I was going up the stairs, it was so hot. I walk inside a small room. I'm not kidding you. From here to the wall, to this wall, even smaller. That's the small square that he was sitting. And he had books all around him. And he sat with me, and for about an hour, he was sweating, and he was writing and reading as I was waiting for him, because he asked me to wait for a few minutes. I told him, Sayyidina, why don't you buy an air condition? He looked up and he said, it's a great idea. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for the idea. And he went back and he started reading. So I said, Sayyidina, Maulana, why don't you get a fan? You know, it might help. He looks at me and goes, MashaAllah, son, you really have great ideas. And he went back to writing. And so I look, what's wrong? Could it be that it's an issue of money? Could it be, so him and I walked out of the house. Honestly, it was a lot warmer under the sun outside than inside of his house. It was a lot cooler actually, sorry. We walked out. As we were walking, him and I, he stopped a few places, and every place he would take some money and puts it and gives it to the people, to the families. About 5 or 6 houses. I was getting tired, getting very dizzy, and I was about to faint. So I said, Sayyidina, you know, and these houses that he stopped by were really in need, in dire need. I said, Sayyidina, could you please give me an insight? Imagine me like Musa and you're like Abdul Salih. Explain to me. He looks at me, he goes, you want to be kicked out or something? I said, no, I want to learn. You are going through such a hardship and you have, mashallah, some money. Why don't you? He goes, son, yes, I may receive some money, but this hardship, look at me, I'm a person with one family member, my wife, but these houses have children. These students of mine have children. They don't have food. At least I have food. Why do I need the air conditioner or the fan? Why do I need the air conditioner or the fan? Look at what knowledge did to a person. He calculates, he thinks, and he looks at things differently. There are still till today people of that caliber. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, it is not, the strong man is not the man who overpowers people with his strength, but is the man who overpowers his desires and his self. He says also, listen to this word, the strong man is not the man who beats people and overpowers them with his strength, but is the one who holds himself at the time of anger. Dear brothers and sisters, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I just realized I'm running out of time. I'm really in trouble. I did not realize I think I need to buy eyeglasses because I did not realize that. Does that work? Would you guys give me more time with that? He was passing by and he saw a man in a group around him, and each one is displaying their strength as how much they can pick up the rocks and break them. So he looked at them and they said, "Oh Prophet, look at who is the strongest of us and who is..." He said, "Let me tell you who's the strongest amongst all of you." He said, "The strongest is a man who someone swore at him, yet he held himself and did not swear back at him. He, this man, won over his evil and the evil of his other person." That's a strong man. And that's why Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, he says, "Man hasara shahwatah," whoever limited his desire, faqad sana qadrah, he protected his value. Dear brothers and sisters, you know, there are young men and women in history that really do wonders, and they amaze you. And let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of the son of Yazid? The son of Yazid, his name is what? Muawiyah. Muawiyah was taught by someone called Umar al-Maqsus. This Umar al-Maqsus was a person who loved Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And he taught the son of Yazid. And a man's nature shows in his teaching. And he taught Muawiyah. Muawiyah, when he grew up, at the time Yazid la'natullah alayh died, Muawiyah was not even 20. And they wanted to give him allegiance, so he's the next person from Bani Umayyah. He goes up on the podium and he addresses the people. He says, "Listen, my grandfather was Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, and he fought against those who were eligible for the Khilafah while he wasn't. And my father was Yazid, and he was someone who committed corruption and he just said everything wrong with his father." And then he says, "And I am here today, I do not want your allegiance, because I do not want your wrongdoings, I do not want to take your evil work, and I leave you away from my allegiance." Marwan ibn al-Hakam looks at him as he's walking down. He goes, "Is this a new sunnah you're doing?" He looks at Muawiyah, looks at Marwan. He goes, leave me alone. Do you try to trick me away from my religion?" You know what they did? They ended up killing Muawiyah. But furthermore, you know what they did to his teacher? They took him and they buried him alive. Look at the power of what? Of learning, of mentorship. When you mentor someone, you can change their lives. I will steal a few minutes away and I'll leave, don't worry. How many of you have mentored people in your lives? How many of you are mentoring someone from your own community? How many of you are able to mentor someone? Dear brothers and sisters, you don't need a center for this. You don't need a community project for this. It's very simple. You find someone who you think you can mentor. You're a professional in your area. Find a young man and a young woman finds also a lady who's professional in her area. Go and ask them to mentor you, and go and offer that mentorship. By the way, I'll give you a solution tomorrow. If you really want to do this as part of the community building, it's something important and you truly can make a change in people's lives. I'll just throw a website right now because I want you to be linked together. I want you to get and carry this on amongst the community. How many of you think you're a professional in your field and you can help someone? Just raise your hands. Okay, good. How many of you think you would like to be mentored by someone? Raise your hand. Okay, very simple. Go to this website, mainstay, mainstay.us. The first thing you'll see on the website, something called Get Involved. Click on it and fill out everything. If you want to mentor, say I want to mentor. If you want to be mentored, say I want to be mentored. And then the match will take place. Simple. Provided you a solution. Didn't charge you for anything, right? Let us recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad and I will see how many people are serious about changing this community. Don't just show up and say you want to change without actually changing. Dear brothers and sisters, and tonight we commemorate another young man with the family of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. A young man who wanted to change. A young man who was part of the family of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. A young man at the age of 13, he carried the principles of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. A young man who truly had the character of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in him. He tried to carry it in the battlefield. A man who was the son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Dear brothers and sisters, we go to the battlefield of Karbala on the 10th day of Muharram. We see a young man who went to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the son of Imam al-Hasan. His name is Al-Qasim. They say he went to the Imam asking him permission to go and fight in the battlefield. Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not permit him at first. The young man went back to his mother. His mother saw him. He was sad. She told him, Bunay Qasim, what's going on? He said, my uncle is not giving me permission to go and fight. They say his mother opens something and it leans in and she takes out a letter. She hands it over to her son Qasim. Upon reading it, he runs and rushes to Imam Hussein, and it says, Bunay Qasim, son Qasim, when you are there in the battlefield of Karbala on the 10th day of Muharram and see your uncle Hussein all alone in the battlefield, make sure you fight with him, you protect him, make sure you're amongst those who fight in the battle of Karbala. Dear brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, tears coming down. He gave permission. Al-Qasim alayhi salam rushes to his mother. He tells her mother, Imam Hussein gave me permission. They say his mother then dressed him with the dress of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They say Al-Qasim, before going to the battlefield, he stopped by Lady Zainab alayhi salam, who was mourning her two sons. When Lady Zainab alayhi salam saw Qasim, for the first instant she thought it was Imam Hassan. She cried out. Al-Qasim hugged her, kissed her, then he went into the battlefield. They say Al-Qasim at his young age was fighting the enemies of Allah when suddenly one of his slippers got loose. Al-Qasim leaned over to tie it. When the enemies of Allah sighted Al-Qasim, bending to tie his slippers, then the enemies of Allah directed themselves. One of them came rushing towards Al-Qasim with his sword. He was looking at the neck of Al-Qasim. As he came close, Al-Qasim's eyes were on the ground. This man, the enemy of Allah, took up the sword and struck Al-Qasim. Al-Qasim alayhi salam, lying on the grounds of Karbala, called loud, Assalamu alayk Mawlaya ya Aba Abdillah. Assalamu alayk Mawlaya ya Aba Abdillah. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن. Everyone, صلواتك عليه. Louder. في هذه الساعة. Call him. في كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم. الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. حسين 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 حسين. On the pieces of Qasim they cry, for no one could bear that he died.
On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died.
Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein. Oh, lovers of Hassan, come near, as I narrate to you his dear. He was left to defend the Imam and to protect the deen of Islam. He was left to defend the Imam and to protect the deen of Islam. So Qasim approaches Hussein in a moment of tremendous pain. The rose of Hassan asked to fight, but how could Hussein risk his life? The rose of Hassan asked to fight, But how can Hussein risk his life? On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein.
He was of his brother a trust. Hussein could not see him in dust. O Qasim, my son, take a breath.
I ask you, how do you view death? O Qasim, my son, take a breath.
I ask you, how do you view death? His answer we must always keep. His answer caused angels to weep. You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey.
You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein,
Least of all Hussein.
said Mawla, O Qasim, my pride, for women you must stay behind. So Qasim goes back to his camp, his face full of tears and so damp. So Qasim goes back to his camp, his face full of tears and so damp. His mother said, why do you cry? He said, for Hussein I can't die. Farva pulled out a letter, hoping that this would make things better. Farva pulled out a letter, hoping that this would make things better. When Mawla saw who it was from, his entire body went numb. He had to let Qasim go fight. The young nephew's face became bright. He had to let Qasim go fight. The young nephew's face became bright. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein.
Hussein gave him turban and cloak, seeing him ladies in a brogue. To aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell.
To aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell.
The lion of Hassan so brave, he sent 35 to the grave. Then Qasim, his armor so large, saw cowardly enemies charge.
Then Qasim, his armor so large, saw cowardly enemies charge.
They struck Qasim from every side. Oh uncle, help me, Qasim cried. They ripped his young body apart and struck right at his uncle's heart.
They ripped his young body apart and struck right at his uncle's heart. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein, least of all Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى